For what purpose does Mr. Jordan seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to strike the last word.
Gentleman is recognized.
The Democrats have a bill that says to political jurisdictions, if you change your law, if you do it the way we want, you will give you money. And our colleague from North Carolina comes with an amendment and says, if you engage in certain behavior, we're not going to give you that money. It is entirely relevant. The chairman has twice now used the term irrelevant. This is as relevant as it gets. Last week, the Democrats started off the week with one of our colleagues from Detroit saying no more policing. We just heard the gentleman from Rhode Island say the Democrats haven't talked about defunding the police.
No, that's not what I said.
One of their members said
I didn't
last
say
week,
that we haven't talked
no
about it.
more policing. No more policing. And let me just, the Democrat-run cities, New York City cut $1 billion from its police department's budget and saw a 97% increase in shootings. Los Angeles cut $170 million from its budget, saw an 11.6% increase in homicides. Austin, Texas, $150 million cut, 50% spike in homicides. Portland, Oregon, a $12 million cut, eliminated 3 police units. Shootings went up 173%, murders up 25%. I would bet the people, the residents of those communities think this amendment is relevant, for goodness sake. Democrats started the week last week saying, get rid of police. They ended the week with one of our colleagues, Democrat colleagues, being admonished by a judge for the ridiculous things that they said. And somehow the gentleman from North Carolina's amendment's not relevant? Are you kidding me? This is as relevant as it gets, as timely as it gets. And I hope we could actually agree on something and adopt the gentleman's amendment. With that, I yield back my time.
Mr. Chairman,
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Florida seek recognition?
move to strike the last word.
Gentlelady is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make it quite clear that this amendment is completely irrelevant. I served as a law enforcement officer for 27 years. It is a tough job, and good police officers deserve your support. You know, it's interesting to see my colleagues on the other side of the aisle support the police when it is politically convenient to do so. Law enforcement officers risk their lives every day. They deserve better, and the American people deserve. I have the floor, Mr. Jordan.
Gentlelady has
What,
the floor.
did I strike a
gentle-
nerve?
the gentle-
Law enforcement
the gentle-
officers
the gentlelady-
deserve better than to be utilized as pawns.
The gentlelady-
And you and your colleagues should
gentlelady
be
will
ashamed
the gentlelady-
of yourself.
The gentlelady will suspend and the clock will be stopped. I want to admonish members. They must not interrupt someone who has the time.
Mr. Chairman, can I
You
ask a
simply
question?
can't shout out. If you think that someone is saying
I agree.
If you,
Mr. Jordan, you don't know what in the heck
if
you're
you-
talking about. You
you-
know
I do.
nothing about what law enforcement
I know
officers
about my
do.
motive.
And you're using them as pawns because it serves your
Everyone-
ridiculous political purpose.
Val, everyone must suspend. I am making the point. No one may shout out when someone else has the time. Not Mr. Gomert,
Question, Mr. Chairman.
not Mr. Jordan, nobody.
Not Mr. Cicilline,
Not Miss,
not Ms.
he
Demings.
didn't do that. But nobody,
did.
Not Mr. Jordan.
Yeah, not Ms.
No-
Ms.
nobody.
Cicilline. Okay, no, but I agree with that. But I have
Then
a
how
question.
do we,
everybody,
I have a
I will
question.
simply, there is no
Same
question.
question.
Nobody may shout out.
When you
If
give
you
a
see
speech, Mr. Chairman,
nobody
about
may-
motives and questioning motives, and
This
then our motives
is
are questioned,
emotionally
how do we
charging
address
for
that?
me
The rules
because
allow
I
a
was law
request
enforcement
of
officer.
words.
I have
Point of
watched them
inquiry.
live and die, and you know nothing about that.
Rule-
And to utilize them as political
Mr. Chairman,
pawns
I have a point of
pisses me
inquiry.
Off.
People
Chairman,
will
I have a
address
point of
comments to
inquiry.
the chair.
Mr.
Rules
Chairman.
The rules do not permit shouting out when someone else has the time. The only thing you may do when someone else has the time is you may raise a point of order if you think it proper, and the chair will then rule on the
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman will state his point of order.
So you gave us a lecture on people questioning our motives. When someone questions our motives, how do we address it when they're in the act
That
of
is
questioning our
not a
motives?
point of order.
Yes, it is.
That is not a point of
Mr.
order.
Chairman, may I continue, please?
That is not a point of order. Ms. Demings
Parliamentary-
has the time, and the clock will resume. Gentlelady is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I'm glad to hear that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are on the side of law enforcement now. Because I don't know where my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have been over the last 4 years, including on January 6th, when police officers who protect us every day were fighting for their lives because of the big lie that was told, and my colleagues on the other side of the aisle were silent. As one person after another person took the microphone and said, go down there and engage in combat, fight like hell. They used the bicycle racks as deadly missiles against the law enforcement officers that you all say you care about so much. And thank you, Mr. Cicilline, because you're absolutely right. The only person who voted to support local governments and passed legislation to support local governments that includes law enforcement were the Democratic members on this side of the aisle. But now today, you support law enforcement. Well, I'm delighted to know that. But don't support them when it's politically convenient for you to do so. Support them when they're under attack by people fighting them and spraying them and knocking them to the ground and beating them with poles, with carrying the American flags and pipes.
Unbelievable.
Mr. Chairman, I thank you and I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back. For what purpose does Mr. Roy seek recognition?